Shander, Mike's producing. We're here. Post Phil Mickelson edition.
Oh my God.
Of the Masters. What do we have in store for us? No NBA by all means. That doesn't mean that Mike Trout can't hit a home run. Doesn't mean some other stuff can't go down today. All right. If anything goes down, I'm involved. Okay. No home runs, no doubles, no nothing. Now, with that said, Eric Lindquist, my friend, we also have some NBA stuff. We can, some future series. We've talked about the play-in thing now that it's all locked in. How you doing, my friend?
I'm okay. Do we have to talk about the play-in considering Minnesota and all the garbage that went down over the last, 24 hours with that? I mean, what world am I in where we actually have to talk about that? Like, we have to talk about the most ridiculous, overblown punch, but then the tweet from Woj being like, he's a B, just absolutely going nuts. I was like, Woj just dropping quoted bitch like this. I was like, that's a pretty wild phenomenon when you're talking about ESPN sports journalism, but I guess you got to get the accurate assessment of what happened. But like, Jaden McDaniels punches a wall, breaks his hand. We have nobody to guard anybody tomorrow. Is Austin Rivers, after having COVID for the last month, going to have to come off the bench and play 32 minutes? Like, what are we going to do against the Lakers tomorrow? I don't even know.
I don't either. But I'll tell you this. We can bypass, to appease you, we can bypass the play-in games. And we can look at some series spreads.
Right? Play-in game I. Yeah, because we were just talking about cacti.
Correct. So we've got series spreads. Other stuff is up because the actual play, this has got to be the worst concept. One, and I don't want to use hyperbole and say the worst, but it has to be top 5 worst concepts in sports, which is just extending. Now, you want to do it like adding a wild card or something along those lines. Do it like NFL or dare I even say baseball did. But when you're just calling it what it is, which is extending the losers or the underachievers. That's all this play-in shit is. Like,
stop it.
Stop it. Eric, no. The people who...
It's a money grab.
Yeah, but hold on a sec. It's a money grab. I get it. But that doesn't mean that I have to accept it as a fan. And you, of all people, should appreciate my point of view here because you work harder than anybody when it comes to grinding out videos and talent opportunities, what we have VODs and stuff on here. So with that said, it would be like, somebody just sneaking in and the last second of your video and be like, hey, man, here's like me being like, hey, man, here's my pick of the day. And they're getting like 10,000 views and me getting credit for it. You're like, get the hell out of here. Work your own shit. The underachiever or the lazy or the bad gets rewarded with the play-in. Enough of it. I can't deal with it.
So this originated because they needed to have extra teams come to the bubble. They needed to play out part of the regular season. They cut it off for everybody who had no chance to get to the playoffs, other than the Phoenix Suns, who then went undefeated in the bubble. But that's a conversation for a different day. The Ricky Rubio, Devin Booker chemistry that we had once upon a time there. Those were just wild days in the bubble. They ran the table. It didn't matter. Couldn't make the playoffs anyway. But that's where it got concocted. But then turning around 2021, there's no doubt the only reason it stayed around is because it's extra NBA games, extra opportunities for extra advertising dollars, putting people in the seats, have some sort of tension that exists that it's concocted to make more money. Period. End of story.
I get it. I'm not arguing with the concept. I just don't like it.
I'm with you.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I get why it exists, but it again, like it's not even called like an extra wild card or anything like that. The optics of it aren't even being hidden. It's just like, no, we're adding extra sucky teams to this to play in.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be okay having it 1 through 8. Minnesota can play Denver right now. That'd be just fine by me.
Thank you. I'm fine with that too. By the way,
I'd be ecstatic.
Raptors plus 235 right now to make the playoffs. They're hosting Chicago. They're hosting Chicago on Wednesday. Now, you and I are going to be on Wednesday, so we'll talk about that at length, I'm sure, as the play-in keeps going. But we've talked about this Raptors team, how Jekyll and Hyde, I forget which one is which is the good, which is the bad. But at home, defensively,
Jekyll good, Hyde bad.
Jekyll good, Hyde bad. Thank you. So that's why I like you. You are a worldly individual.
I try.
you didn't have to try on that. You didn't. You
Yeah.
just pulled Jekyll right out of your ass. It was pretty cool.
You should see what else I could pull out. No.
Well, by the way, the Raptors plus 235. Are you interested?
Yeah, I actually am.
Really?
Because yeah,
Wait a second. Are you
here's
really?
the thing. The road game that they would have on the second leg of it, again, it's like if you parlay 2 -110 plays, that's about what your payout's going to be. So, I mean, if you're talking about a 500 type matchup, which for all intents and purposes, that's that first matchup, that makes sense. But like getting Atlanta or Miami on the road there, I think this Toronto team sets up really well against them. I love the ability to guard with the wings. I love Gary Trent off the bench. And then obviously Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet as the catalyst. They can play with anybody. Jakob Poeltl on the interior as well. They can play with anybody. They can lose to anybody. But, I mean, you're going to be their favorites, rightfully so, here against Chicago. And I don't think they're going to have too much trouble there. I mean, it's just a question of like, are you better off just betting them that first game and betting them the second game, assuming they're going to be getting plus 145? I'm assuming they wouldn't be as big of dogs to Atlanta as they would be to Miami. So I guess that's kind of the game you're playing, is like trying to prospectively guess that one, because you're going to run into plus 165 money probably if they're on the road in Miami. And at that point, it's probably not worth it to bet Toronto. You just bet them the first game, they lose that, then you bet them the second game. Like it seems a little weird to me that you would want to just take the front end of it and say, oh, I need them to win back to back there at plus 235 if I can just bet them straight up and then in the next game get plus 165.
Hawks, Heat, Wolves, Lakers. Those are the two games that you and I won't have an opportunity to talk about as far as on the odd shop. So anything early that you talked about the Lakers Wolves game. Let's get to that in a second. But look, unless you're going to take Atlanta in some capacity, I might lean under in that only because it's a little higher because of Atlanta at 226.5. But I'm not even enthralled in that. The one that I did jump on was Clint Capella. I got him over 9.5 rebounds on the big board. So hopefully you did as well, or you got it. And I, through some sort of mental kinetic force, was like, all right, I need to bet it. Whatever the case was, that's the one I jumped on. But I don't have anything else in this game that I just, again, I think Miami wins. I feel like the spread's probably closer. I would lean under the total, but that's only because the number's been a little bit higher than we've seen for Miami, and that is because of Atlanta. So that's all I would do, is just jump on the Capella over 9.5 if that's still there.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about early season NBA, and it's not like books are not knowledgeable about these type of things, but rotations tighten up immediately. You don't get the fluff. You're going to get a Kungwu backing up Capella. I think that's pretty clear cut because he's a very, very serviceable backup. They sat John Collins. We'll see him probably play some extended minutes. He's been playing better. Sadiq Bey in this starting lineup. I think Bogdanovich, and he might end up being the guy who gets limited a little bit. Hunter, they gave some run just to see what they could get out of him, see kind of where his conditioning was at, having not played for a week. So he played the last two games, 27 and 17 minutes. So I'm looking at this Atlanta team, and I project out just where you're going to see 40 minutes, 42 minutes for Trae Young, 40, 42 for DeJounte Murray. And yeah, this isn't the must-win game. You get two cracks at it being the 7-8, but at the same time, I expect this rotation to kind of tighten up here for Atlanta. And it's less of the up and down crazy pace, fourth in pace they are for the entire season, 101.3 possessions per 48 minutes. I don't expect that kind of an output here for Atlanta. So I'm with you where I think that under really stands out. Give some more extended run to Bam Adebayo, play him 40 minutes, play Jimmy Butler for, 40 minutes, whatever he can handle, have him lean over like he did in the bubble at the end of it, like, just being a diva like he always is. Tyler Hero, some extended run. So I do
Jimmy
like that
Butler
under.
slander on this show with me. You save that for when you're on with Raza.
Oh, well, stop it. I mean, he screwed over your Sixers. It was sad. He screwed over my Timberwolves. It was sad. We both miss him. We both want him.
I don't think he screwed over. I think he was screwed over.
That's what I'm saying. It sucks. I want to hate him because I miss him.
They chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. There's a myth that they chose Ben Simmons. They chose to pay Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. Do you know how sharp of a scimitar that is in the back of your spine to feel, Eric Lindquist? Because it's a difficult thing.
Tobias Harris shouldn't have traded away Boban. You traded his best friend. You got rid of his best friend. You should have just locked him up for life and he could
I'm
be
out.
happy. They could be making commercials together. He would be, he wouldn't have PRA sitting at 24.5 for like 2 months. That's for sure. It's pretty embarrassing when you're a max contract guy getting, a bajillion dollars and you can't even get like 20% usage anymore because you suck. You're terrible. Haha.
I feel like the product of a divorce, where I got stuck with the non-fun parent, and I lived
Parent Trap, and you didn't get the British one.
Exactly.
You got the snarky California kid.
And I'm sitting there like, why can't you be more like mom or dad, whoever that one is in your lives out there? Why can't I be more like that? Oh, unbelievable. It is unbelievable. By the way, shout out to Harambe Slayer on our Discord.
Yeah.
Very big veteran for us on the channel. We'll talk more about the channel. It's been an amazing week for Lindquist, couple of parlays for me. I'm just trying to keep up. Yeah. So we'll just keep talking about that, keep inviting you in. But since 2020, Capella's averaged 10.9 against the Heat. You mentioned just the minimal rotation that we'll see, especially in this game against Miami, who's probably not going to go as deep either. So that would be the first one. Now, look, you can talk about the fight. You can talk about LeBron and all the volatility that has been the Lakers now finally getting here, getting what we all hope to be that Lakers, maybe Nuggets, right, matchup. But Wolves-Lakers, that's a 7.5 point spread. 231.5 would be the total. Here, now, I don't know if you have a play on the spread, a side, or the money, or maybe an upset, or even the total here. But this is where I think you can start to look at guys, to your point, E, who are probably playing starter minutes, but maybe in like some smaller markets, or maybe just pounding something that seems off. Like, you know what, Anthony Davis, 25.5 points. I have him at 30, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at this game, and the number one thing that we're going to talk about for Minnesota Lakers, we're going to talk about Rudy Gobert's absence, what that means, because it's not just Gobert, but Naz Reid broke his wrist. He's not going to be there, and I don't think Minnesota wants to put Garza out there for any kind of prominent minutes defensively, because he will get completely butchered, slaughtered, whatever adjective you want to use, going up against Mr. Anthony Davis. I do like the over for Anthony Davis points as it is right now. I think the Lakers
25.5.
Oh my God, give me more. Give me more, in the words of Britney Spears. Give me more. I don't know how you get away from the Lakers just dominating Minnesota here. Rudy Gobert, I don't understand what we're doing. We're paying the guy $40 million to stay in Minnesota, and then, we'll be playing probably on Thursday because that's how life works as a Minnesota sports fan. I don't really know what to do other than to just jam Anthony Davis here, because I repeat, look at who's going to be guarding him from the Minnesota side. It's going to be Cat. He's had his defensive inefficiencies. I assume they play him at the 5 like they did that entire second half without Rudy Gobert. I think Taurean Prince and Kyle Anderson might play some small ball 5, because I think they got to get away from Nathan Knight, Luka Garza being any kind of prominent basketball players for them. I just don't see a way where they can have Luka Garza on this floor. Like regular season, it was fun to talk about him from a DFS perspective. I truly think Nathan Knight makes the most sense in like a playoff scenario as your backup 5. And you probably want to get like 8 good minutes out of him, probably play Cat 40. So I'd be looking to short anybody. I'm looking to go over on Anthony Davis for sure, because anytime you get Cat on the perimeter guarding you, you're going to be in a prime spot to thrive.
His total on FanDuel and DK alike sits at 25.5. On FanDuel, it's -106, so you get a little break. And I'm listening and building in my head and on my screen as you're laying out fantastic reasons why we need to attack Anthony Davis. So we start with our base play, and I've heard people and had people on our Discord mention this and ask, well, what is a ladder? How do you build this ladder? It's super easy. It's super simple. You just find a base, which is usually the over-under, and you go over that and you bet to win whatever your unit size is. All right, easy stuff. Then you just go, and this is just a matter of how far you want to go. We're allowed to keep going. All right, so 26 points is -106. 27 is +108. 28 is +126. 29, 162. 30 is 2-1. And then you can
What's 40?
Sorry?
That's 40.
Okay. Now you're on to it, right? Because now you can start to go to 35 and 40 and truly push it. But I want to give you a frame of reference to where you're jumping from. 35 is 380. It's not. I mean, look, I love him getting to 40 with you. 40 is 980.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet that.
Pardon me. 40 is not available.
Okay. Well, if 35, it were plus 900 or whatever.
35. Hold on a second. I'm sorry.
Okay. You're okay.
Here's the play. Okay. 25.5 minus 106. 35 plus 500.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely taken on less usage the last few games, but I think one of those things is just getting LeBron James acclimated and playing a little bit of the matchup game. Look at some of the spots that he's been in the last few. And Utah, they were playing the shambles of Utah. They didn't have to push him very hard. Phoenix, they played with the absolute skeleton crew, didn't have to push AD again, just 12 shot attempts. Played the Clippers without a prominent big, got kind of ran off the floor for the most part. Wild stuff in that game. Can't believe how well the Clippers played there in a must-win spot. And then Utah, again, the shambles of 42 minutes where you saw him put up just 21 there. But I see Houston. I see Minnesota in the last matchup, Chicago before it. We're talking 38, 38, 40. And I get it. LeBron James being back in the mix, getting acclimated, might take away a little bit of the usage off the top. But LeBron James has basketball IQ. It's really hard to look at Minnesota playing without Rudy Gobert and not just go to Anthony Davis repeatedly. I don't know why they wouldn't play through him this entire game. Come playoff time, that's what you do. I don't think that they're just going to play through him nonstop, and there's no answer for Anthony Davis on the Minnesota side without Jaden McDaniels in pick and roll scenarios, without Rudy Gobert on the interior. It's just going to be a disaster. So 40, give me 40 and give me the 35. I don't mind.
Plus 40, bro. I told you.
I know. No, but I'm saying that if I can find it later, I'm saying plus 30. So 35 or more, we're getting better than 3-1 on that. It's feel pretty darn good. 9-1?
5.
Like,
part of me doesn't. Do you do this in life, or is it just me?
You understand how many numbers I'm looking at and how many inputs I'm throwing in, and I'm going this way, and then I'm going that way, and then I'm annoying you because it's fun to do.
Does Adam Scher have to repeat himself as much as I do when he's on shows with you? Like, what's going on here?
I'm very enthusiastic, and I'm trying to learn and give people good information. And
what are you trying to learn? You're not learning anything. You're disseminating the information. You can't.
So that's what I'm doing. But I'm changing some of the inputs. I mean, you gotta do a little push and pull, a little pulley, pulley lever system thingy.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way,
throwing in pace numbers and taking Jaden McDaniels off the floor and going to add funds and throwing in what's the per 48. How many points per 48 in these scenarios. And Karl Anthony Towns going to be a problem having him out there defensively. That's the whole point of why they brought in Rudy Gobert in the first place.
I know you've got Russell in the house here, but Mike Conley's points have just bumped up way too much. I thought they'd be down at 12.5, maybe.
You understand this guy I have on my sheet. I've only bet him 3 times. Points prop plus 3-pointers, 3-0 on him. So I might be the Mike Conley whisperer. I am not playing Mike Conley.
No, I mean, that's my
point. If I did
though.
anything, I might short Mike Conley in this spot.
Well, it's shaded to the under. I just don't think there's a reason to bet it. And but I was just looking at it. If there was anything else.
Doesn't look great. You're right.
These games. All right, look, that's just our first look on that, right? You'll see more and more pop up. In fact, I'm curious. Let's get over there, Mike. Let's head on over to the OddsShopper premium tool. Just kind of dabble into this. The community parlay is up. What did the parlay go, by the way, on Friday? Was that me and myself and Ben? I think we missed that. Yeah. Community sucked on Friday. Lindquist.
I mean, you're boxing him in with 4 picks, so maybe I'll blame you.
B-Don, Lindy is the man. Stop trolling, Shander. Is that you? Do you have multiple accounts?
Be done. That's me. Be done with it.
Well, I thought you were the Brian Colangelo of OddsShopper.
The Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant burner.
Okay, that's good. All right, that's good. Look at that. Beautiful, by the way. Absolutely beautiful. Keep that. How new is that graphic? That graphic needs to be a staple.
That's fantastic. Where did that come from?
Unbelievable. I don't know, but that is every single time we do stuff that loses, we need that up there.
And
shout out to Harambe Slayer, by the way, who created these emojis that we can now use in the Discord, which is Eric Lindquist's face like 3 times over, me. Adam Scher somehow worked his face in there. It's a beautiful sight, is it not?
It's a beautiful thing. Harambe, you're great people.
Now, Drew Harsh says, I'm the Pat Beverly of OddsShopper. What does that mean? I'm willing to embrace it. I just want to know what it means. Like I'm the asshole that doesn't stop talking. I don't start fights. I'm sitting in my one room. I don't even see Eric Lindquist. We're 3,000 miles away from each other.
Nope. But we like to talk shit because that's what we do. Also, so you want to be a -1 on the EPM? Yeah, expected plus minus, like that's estimated plus minus. That's what we're looking for. We want to have 2.3 estimated win shares, which is way lower than his 5 that he had with the Minnesota Timberwolves last year. I need to know the Patrick Beverly context myself. Are you somebody who doesn't shoot with your 10.9% usage this year? Are you simply out there trying to... It seems like we've been on Patrick Beverly rebounds for absolutely ever in OddsShopper. It feels like that's always at the top of the board. Kind of jarring to not see it at the top of the board here. It was at
one point, I thought. Maybe not.
Okay, I'm looking at the board right now, and it's not near the top.
Interesting.
I know. It's like the first time I've ever pulled up OddsShopper and not seen Patrick Beverly just staring at me.
So, yeah, second. Okay, there it is. That's the difference. You're in the wrong state, cuz.
I'm in New Jersey.
Pennsylvania. Hey, by the way, there's an interesting play on the OddsShopper premium tool, the one that will give you a free week just for signing up. All right. So just hang with us. We'll get to some of this stuff. There's a lot of baseball, some other things to talk about. By the way, Variety put this out today. I could not believe it. The 17 best movies, sports movies. And the only caveat, here's the thing. I want you to listen because you don't listen to 90% of the shit that I say.
Shut up. No, now we're just getting whiny. This is not.
Okay. I'm sorry. 70%.
Okay.
Here's what I would say.
That's better.
The only caveat that Variety established, Eric Lindquist, is that the sports movie had to have been nominated for Best Picture. So that whittles down the category, right, to a lot of uncomfortable movies. So I'll give you an example, like Chariots of Fire was not, Seabiscuit was nominated, Heaven Can Wait, a lot of older movies, a movie that you probably never saw, The Champ in 1931. Who that, right? Like EMAC starred in that movie, and that's about it.
Yeah. So Rocky obviously goes into the mix. So Rocky's got to be near the top.
Rocky is at the top. Rocky.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, Rocky had to be one. As we're dissecting this, I mean, remember the Titans? I don't think that was ever nominated.
That's not.
Yeah, no chance.
No.
Rudy,
don't show him
I don't
the
think
list
was nominated.
No, don't show him the list now, Mike. I mean, he's gonna. No, here's the thing.
Raging Bull has to be top 5.
Raging Bull's 2.
Okay, there you go.
Now, do you remember what Raging Bull lost to? Robert Redford's Ordinary People. Rocky, of course, was up there in what? Beat All the President's Men, Bound for Glory, Taxi Driver was there as well.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Trying to think of like what's the newest movie that made the list.
There you go. By the way, as you think of that,
Moneyball?
Yes, Moneyball is there.
Okay.
Rocky is so diluted because of all the other movies that came out after it.
Oh,
but if you just take Rocky as its individual solo movie, it's a masterpiece. It's a true. The fact that Ivan Drago made an appearance 5 movies later isn't the first movie's fault.
I think my favorite story I've ever heard. Have you ever heard the story about Sylvester Stallone and his dog?
No.
Sylvester Stallone was homeless. Him and his wife, they were having troubles with money, a bunch of other stuff, and they had a dog, and it was his best friend, and they had to make some money, so he goes to a gas station and sells this dog to this movie producer. Like, people are coming in, he's like, bartering with them, like, hey, buy this dog for this much. And the movie producer is like, he's like, the only stipulation Sylvester Stallone said to him is that I have the opportunity to buy this dog back. And so he's like, okay, well, I have new kids. I would love to be able to do it. He sells the dog to him for like $200 or $150 or something like that. And ends up making Rocky, uses the money, gets food, does everything, takes care of himself. Rocky's a huge smash. he reaches out years later to this movie producer or to this music producer that bought this dog. He buys his dog back for $10,000.
Wow. So here's the thing. First off, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Second, if you are that music producer, what have you, I don't know if it's a music or movie producer, whoever it may be. Are you looking at that like an investment?
Yeah.
Like an investment opportunity, right?
He's like, oh, this guy's desperate. I think he like lowballed him. They had like some kind of a back and forth or something. It was on this podcast that I was listening to. My wife had me listen to it. It was fantastic. But
my question though is, do you have if you're that person, do you have the foresight initially to buy the dog with the belief that whatever this idiot, this crackpot's working on is going to blow up into something amazing, and then you can turn around and bend him over a barrel for a schnauzer?
But I'm saying if it's his best friend, if it's like desperate, if you have that desperate need to get this dog back, it's probably great motivation for Sylvester Stallone in his life. And it's also, hey, well, I'm going to have a dog for my family and, get him as cheap as humanly possible, way cheaper than I would get going to a pet store and getting one. And I know exactly what I'm getting. So what a win-win situation if you're that guy.
No, I get it. By the way, Field of Dreams was the other one.
Oh, definitely up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that. Minnesota. Hey. And then we got murdered. So there's that. That was post Minneapolis Miracle. You know what happened after that? The anti-miracle. Pretty much the Antichrist Philadelphia.
Yeah, I get it. By the way, if you look at that, Driving Miss Daisy won the year in which, Field of Dreams was nominated. Look at the list in which Driving Miss Daisy beat out. In hindsight, this makes absolutely no sense. It just doesn't. Like, Driving Miss Daisy was a fine movie, don't get me wrong, but when you look at the other ones, Born on the 4th of July was just iconic for an actor who didn't have that range quite yet. I still don't know if he does have that range. Dead Poets Society.
Well,
go back and watch that. Unreal.
My left captain.
My left foot might be Daniel Day-Lewis' finest of all performances.
He won Best Actor for that.
He did. And I think that was kind of like the consolation, although he was just insane. And then you had Field of Dreams. So, look, I mean, James Earl Jones, like that, it wasn't just Kevin Costner. That's all. By the way, I wanted to take you back to the Tool if we can, because you brought up something about Minnesota's lack of depth and what they're going to be able to do here without Rudy Gobert. And the Tool is showing some positive ROI, and that's what it's doing. It's a market-based approach, just finding holes and gaps in the market. Sometimes they're wider than others. But what I noticed is the Lakers' second quarter money line has a 60% X win with a 3% X ROI. The second quarter spread at -105 has a 52% X win with a 2% X ROI, which would also stand to reason that the Lakers would be able, if both teams are playing tighter and one team is down already, it would stand to reason that they would have to go deeper into their bench and go up against a more formidable opponent. I don't know how much that truly plays out, but I noticed that the market at least is jumping out with these two plays, which is essentially the same money line and spread.
Yep. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Lakers are just set up so well here. And the second quarter money line, second quarter spread, first half money line a little bit further down the board, 68% expected win percentage on that. My goodness. This is why you're shopping for these kind of things, because I probably wouldn't be looking at a first half money line, but -210, DraftKings Sportsbook right there, right next to it with the icon. I think there's just a lot of great numbers that you can get. I think that second quarter money line makes a lot of sense. If you think about the rotations that'll exist for Minnesota, I threw it out there where Karl Anthony Towns is going to have to be on the floor a lot. You could run into foul trouble against Anthony Davis. There's a lot of iterations of this game where the 4 minutes the cat is off the floor is from the 12-minute mark to the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. And to be running into something like -140 for probably the most important person in the game on the Minnesota side. He's had foul issues when guarding number ones in his past. The whole idea of getting Gobert was to loosen the load on him here. And come playoff time, they're just going to feed the beast. And so I see a lot of ways where Karl Anthony Towns isn't on the floor for those 4 minutes. And that is a very valuable number when you know Nathan Knight and or Luka Garza has to be out there. So second quarter point spread, second quarter money line. I think those are very viable targets.
On the chat, we saw Drew Harsh ask the longest yard. That did not make it because that was never nominated. Or if it was, it didn't make the list.
So maybe not, maybe nominated as Best Picture. I think Sandra Bullock won for Best Actress from that movie. But yeah, Best Picture, I think, is what he was saying, that it has to be nominated as a movie,
Sandra
not
Bullock,
just in a category.
Was she in The Longest Yard, or you're thinking of The Blind Side?
Oh, The Blind Side. That's what it was. Yeah, Longest Yard was Adam Sandler, right?
And no, Blind Side's up there. Correct. Yeah, nobody's nominating that pile of shit.
But then there was the original The Longest Yard with what's his face from Boogie Nights? Burt Reynolds. Thank you.
Maybe. By the way, the other one that's in there that I thought jumped out was Jerry Maguire. And I think this was nominated, like people forget, Jerry Maguire was nominated for Best Picture. And if you look at who won support, I still think that this was so much Cuba Gooding Jr. Like this was his role that was so much different than like, Boys in the Hood. Like he was just amazing in this. He won Best Supporting Actor in this, but it didn't win.
Blindside did get nominated. Look at that. Blindside was down
I told
there,
you Blindside did, but the other one did not.
Correct. There you
Longest
go.
Yard.
Longest Yard.
Yeah, that's a pile of slop.
It was not ideal. Chris Rock, I believe, is the guy who dies in that movie. He's his cellmate. What a interesting casting decision across the board.
I didn't see that movie, so thanks for giving it away.
Oh, the statute of limitations is up after 10 years. I'm sorry.
I don't.
Did you get spoiler alert? Like Breaking Bad. Oh, you want to know what happens? I could tell you. You have Gus Frank. He ends up getting blown up at a retirement home and all this thing. Yeah, whatever.
What if somebody gave up or had to? What if somebody had something in their life that they had to pause after season 5 and they forgot to go back to that? And you just reminded them about, I can't wait to see what happens with El Pollo Loco. And you just told them, like, forget it. Don't even watch the rest of the series. Gus Farang explodes in some.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Sorry, be better and finish your shit on time.
All right. Let's do this. By the way, the top 2 plays right now for us on XROI are Brandon Ingram over 6.5 rebounds and Pat Bev. All right, PB&J, the Shander of the NBA, apparently, Patrick Beverley. Well, I love PB, so you can hit me up with that all day. We have to talk some baseball as well, as you see, and Hints is on the board. Build a parlay or two. What do you think? But the top 2 plays up there are there. I'm curious, as we see this with Brandon Ingram and Patrick Beverley. Talk about this in just a second here. Have you ever spoiled something that you've regretted? And I don't mean food.
Oh, so the worst is so obvious to me. So my buddy, he was a TV producer, TV writer, and he had this girlfriend at the time. He's now married to somebody else. So I'm okay with it. But if it had been his wife, I would have been in a lot of trouble. But he was going to surprise her with a trip to Rome, and she didn't know where she was going. It was for her birthday, and she had no idea. She just had to get her passport updated, do all this stuff and whatever else. And we're on the phone, and I'm in New York for something, and I get a phone call, and we're just chatting back and forth. And I was like, all right, dude, have the best time in Rome. He goes, she's in the car, you idiot. I was like, oh, okay. Well, enjoy that trip to not Rome. I was kidding.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That was not good.
That's awful. By the way,
you didn't think it was going to be that bad, did you?
No, because I was just asking if you've ever spoiled like the ending of a movie or a show.
I just spoiled that. That was the number one thing I've spoiled that up, right? In my life.
I can't go after. I can't say, well, I was watching Dexter and season 3. Like there's nothing that can follow.
He's Paul Bunyan out there now, cutting down trees.
No, don't trust me. Don't watch the final whatever recap thing is. Don't tell Terry McBride I told you that, but don't watch that. Let's look at the tool. Yeah, Brandon, do you have any interest in going over 6.5 rebounds? Brandon Ingram. We have this as a smash on Bet Rivers. The price is there at -110. If you look at the market, and this is what the tool does, it identifies width and gap that you can attack. Everywhere else outside of the trio that is essentially the same book, Sugar House, Bet Rivers, and Unibet, everywhere else has it at 7.5 at plus money. So I get it. You're getting plus money back, but the reality is you can find it now at over 6.5 ahead of all of these other places. You're behind that number 7, which seems to be somewhat key there for Ingram on rebounds. Seems like a pretty damn good bet to go over 6.5 boards. We have it as our favorite bet on the OddsShopper Premium tool, my friend.
Yeah, and it completely makes sense to me here too. I love how this tool just basically validates a lot of thoughts and feelings that I have about basketball teams, where it's just like, what are you doing? This is a what are you doing bet for the Pelicans, because Jonas Valanciunas playing limited minutes in games that they needed to be winning is just absurd. They've gone to these ridiculous, now Josh Richardson's in closing lineups. It's not even Larry Nance at times. We're talking some really, really weird closing lineups. And Jonas Valanciunas, every minute he's not on a floor, considering he had, 18 boards or something in 20, right, low 20 minutes. I know that's what it was in that last time out against Minnesota. So, like, if they're going to have such a small lineup out there, his rebound rate is just completely different than what we've seen for a sample size for the season. It goes up, 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 because Brandon Ingram's playing the 4, in some cases, like playing a small ball type of 5. It's ridiculous. So Brandon Ingram, those rebound numbers, you also have to give him a surplus of minutes. This is a must-win game, so on and so forth. Brandon Ingram makes a lot of sense. Look,
we're getting ahead of this 2 days in advance too. So
you want to be early on these things. And we should probably explain that out, why we do it. Lindy's leans, likes, locks, Eytan's locks early, because I don't think people always want to have like the most up-to-date information. Well, once it's up to date, the books can react to it too. It's not like we're the only ones who get to react to it. So sometimes hypotheticals that you're able to draw, guessing on injury news, stuff like that, that is why we come out with our video the night before, Eytan.
You're right, my friend. And it's a lot of times, I know you get it, I get it. Hey, you said on the video this thing, and then you're coming out with a play here, and we have to explain that we're looking to get ahead of the market. And that if it's not a lock, like lock this in right now, it's a lean. It's what we're looking at, and we're keeping an eye on it, and we're tracking it. But we have the ability to put out a video the night before or super early in the morning, whatever it may be. And then you can hang with us throughout and say, like you see a bunch of us here throughout on the Discord, pop in and go back and forth on the chat. It's the same thing. It's the same scenario. So you're exactly right, man. And that's the beauty of doing this early and using the tool, because I can't tell you how many times it'll be like, hey, get this out there, get this out there. Oh, it's changed. I'll put a screenshot of the parlay of the day on Twitter, and it's like, oh, it changed. So what I've done is I've started putting a screenshot before I even record the video. I put a screenshot of it out on our Discord just so people can bet it like I bet it. And then I do the video, and then the rest of the people get it. But I mean, it's insane how this tool gets ahead of it and how we can use it as well. So it's a good point, Trace. You want to build a parlay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because there's going to be some baseball involved in this.
Oh, let's go.
I know. By the way, before we get to that, can we just talk about, is he still up there? I know we talk a lot about the Discord.
I can't. Don't make me.
I'm just curious. But we also want you to be a part of what's happening with the Chalkboard app. You can download this for free. I know Lofty and Ehrenberg are super active. You can find a lot of us in there, a lot of community elements to it as well. So we want you to be a part of everything up in there. Don't worry, Harambe, you do a lot for us, like tracking all these promos. So it's the least I can do to give back. Mike Trout was at plus 310 on DK to go long. We still have up here now, I believe Renfro is still up there, right?
As he should be.
Right. So,
I mean,
now it's not fair to you because you're sleeping at the time, and I just take advantage of the fact that you're on the West Coast, and I got up early and I posted both Trout and Renfro to hit home runs on our Discord. But I imagine you like at least one of those guys to go long against Patrick freaking Corbin.
I mean, you saw my card against Tampa Bay. I had 3 Tampa Bay hitters going up against Patrick Corbin. 2 of the 3 end up going yard at plus 800. And now you're running into an LA. It's 80 degrees out. It's going to be the ball is going to be jumping off of Patrick Corbin's fastball, or lack thereof, should I say? Makes a lot of sense. He's just getting hammered for years and years and years now. Wild to think that him and Steven Strasburg have over 60% of the Washington Nationals salary for this year. You're going to see one pitch. I doubt you see the other one, but that's beside the point. A 655 expected slugging now through 2 starts. Just a 13% K rate. It used to be one of those things where against the Angels, you just kind of needed to, if you could strike them out, you're sitting nice. But now with Hunter Renfroe there, another noted lefty killer, you get Who's the other guy that I just bet? Logan O'Hap, I bet. I was in Arizona here, driving across, and beautiful stuff. Logan O'Hap, I think, has a lot of pop there from the right side too. Catcher position has some value to be sought out there as well. I love every righty, and I even love Shohei Ohtani, who against lefties, he still has crazy pop, 65.2% hard hit percentage, 94.6 mile per hour exit velocity off of his bat on average this year. Those are stupid numbers. So Shohei Ohtani, left on left, I'm not even afraid of that.
Let's go to the parlay builder, my friend, and see what we can find here. I'm going to go through and see if there's anything from an ROI standpoint that makes sense. Bet Rivers at times has some lag to it. All right. Bet Rivers has a couple of lag to it and has some bigger opportunities. Let's do that. All right. Let's go to Bet Rivers.
Okay.
All right. You're okay with that?
Yeah, let's do it. Pennsylvania.
I can't go to Unibet.
So
I have to show you a screen cap. Unibet wouldn't let me put a $25 5-leg parlay down. Like, what the hell
That's
is
not very nice.
No, it's not. I don't like Unibet for that. Let's go to this. All right. Now, you should see Matt Olson, right? You should see a couple of guys up here. Let's take out everybody but Olson. Actually,
let's take out the entire board because you have Ingram down there too. If we're looking to get people information for today.
You want it tonight. You want it tonight.
Yeah, we want to get the people something tonight.
Let's get every 412 out. I was going to say, let's leave everything out. Let's leave the top two. Let's leave Olson and Horner out there. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. By the way, Horner and Olson is under 1.5. I just don't know. I know it's Graham on the mound, right? Mitchell is
Graham Ashcraft.
Ashcroft, sorry. Yep. Look, I don't know. You can speak to this better than me, deeper than me at least, but I just don't know how much Matt Olson is getting at this point. And even if it's getting on base, a single, a slap, what you have. But I imagine that Cincinnati's going to do everything they can to not give Olson a lot, especially in that 2-hole behind Acuna, right?
Yeah, this is really probably the most underrated part of assessing situations. When you have a bad pitcher on the mound, okay, there's a lot of ways that other people in the lineup that aren't like a Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout tonight find ways of going yard, which is why you see value with Hunter Renfroe, Logan O'Hap, guys like that who still have pop and can still get it done for you. When you're talking about one lefty to get by, if you're Graham Ashcraft in this entire lineup, now no Michael Harris there for a while. Looks like they're going to have Eli White or Kevin Pillar, two righties who are just not very good there in the middle of that lineup. Probably bringing in Eddie Rosario and his lovely 27.8% hard hit percentage. You're getting by one lefty. Now, there are some very serviceable righties, whether it's Acuna, Riley, Murphy, Ozzie Albies switch hitter, but I'm not that worried about him from the left side either. You're looking at getting by Matt Olson. And what's the easiest way if you're Graham Ashcraft to avoid that? Walking a dude, letting him on base. Austin Riley is really good protection. Don't get me wrong, but it's still for somebody who definitely has the traditional platoon issues Graham Ashcraft does. I think you're looking at a spot where you could be walking into some serious walks. There's no shift. You can get those singles now where it's okay for him to be pulling the ball into some of those gaps that he was hitting at before that would have been outs before. So with just a single being what affects you and being able to maybe work around a walk or two, I think Matt Olson under 1.5 is probably a better play than people project it out to be.
Look, you've got Horner right below him, and to the depths of that, and this Cubs game against Seattle coming to town, the matchup and the probability of him being in a spot similar or not as it may be to Olson, you also have, just speaking to the tool and what it's doing here, it's identified on Bet Rivers specifically that both Olson and Horner are good bets because it's beating the market. So Olson, you're still laying 159 like you are for both bets, but the gap between Olson and every other book is actually a little wider. That's why you have a 4% XROI, and both are sitting there as far as 63, 64% wins. So it's just a small smidgen below the quality of bet that Olson is, but this next bet smashes as well here.
Yeah, I mean, identical juice on both sides of those. Right. Pretty ironic, I would say, in that regard, that they're the first two pieces in for us. But high expected win percentages, decent ROIs. They're not our highest expected ROIs. You know, we're looking at 12% for that over 6.5 rebounds for tomorrow. If you want to include that, go right ahead. OG Anunoby over 3.5. I really like that one as well. I think both of those make sense. No, I did say I wanted to wait.
Yeah.
I'm just saying to the people, if they wanted to include some of those, awesome.
Okay.
But for baseball today, Nico Horner, another guy that going up against Luis Castillo, he does get a little bit of a ballpark downgrade. Seattle is probably the underrated, under the radar, one of the best pitchers parks in baseball. It's just a cavern to be able to see guys hit it out of there. And Luis Castillo has seen hard hit trail up at times, although it's still just been superb all the way around. You don't succeed pitching in Cincinnati without having really, really good stuff, being able to keep the ball on the ground. And last year was actually the highest his average launch angle was in substantially in years and years and years, 10.4 degree average launch angle. He was at 4.2 and 2.2 the years before that. Extreme ground ball. I think it's probably him mixing up his pitch mix, because you pitch to your ballpark. I think that's a very underrated part of assessing pitchers. Luis Castillo been superb at it. That's why he hasn't given up a run yet this year. Now you're going on the road here. It could be a little suspect, but looks like it's chilly. No real wind to speak of there in Wrigley. I think this total is a little out of whack too, personally, but I'm with you. Under Nico Horner, I think I actually like that a little bit more than the Matt Olson one.
All right, so bear with me here, okay? And Mike, you're going to have to scroll down just a little bit, but we've got Alcantara on the hill, and I know that the sexy play for a lot of people were hitting us both up about the K prop and whether or not he's going to hit 7, 6, what have you. Stay away from that for just a second here. The one that I love that jumped out, and it's not a ton of width, and the reason why I say is we're not done. We're going to add leg or maybe legs to this parlay here. But Trey Turner, right at the top of that lineup, going up against Sandy, under 1.5 total bags. We have that at a 65% clip. Now, the reality is, as a solo play, it's not beating the market by a ton, but it's beating the market, and it's plus EV. So this definitely makes sense with the tool. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that there's no real reason for Sandy Alcantara to throw to Trey Turner with how bad this whole lineup is, not to the point at which he probably couldn't get by Trey Turner if he truly wanted to at that point.
You best start believing ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one. Ha ha.
Is that Captain Jack Sparrow?
No, it's not Captain Jack.
Okay, sorry.
It's Mr. Barbosa.
Who's that?
He's the captain of the Black Pearl.
Well, okay, that's the movie.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay,
yeah,
I got
correct.
the movie right.
Pirates.
I'm in the right ballpark. Shit.
You were.
All right.
But I guess it was Fenway. Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
I would think so. I would think so. No, do you have no issue, no objection? We need one more to make this thing.
None at all. I would love to. I love these under of like 1.5 bases that kind of sit nice. There's a sweet spot to be found here.
Okay, so we need one more to make this sucker sing. And by that, we need something tonight that has, all right? So
no Kyle Tucker. I'm not doing that. I refuse. No AJ Pollock. I refuse against Drew Smiley. Jorge Soler I could get behind. Now, I do think Miami is very, very underrated.
We're already with
that's
Trey
right.
Turner. So we need something to the extent of like, oh boy, I mean, could you go Brady Kachuk?
Yeah, I already bet Randy Rosa Kachuk. We're going the hockey streets.
Well, I'm telling you, this is the beauty of the tool.
I know
is that we don't necessarily like. I'd add Skinner. I think of all hockey plays, Jeff Skinner makes the most sense. What about Daza?
Yeah, Jonathan Daza. Yeah, we could throw that into the mix.
All right, let's throw Daza in there. All right,
he sucks. He is bad.
You know what though?
What is Colorado doing in their lives?
Let's get Daza out of there. Because
he's batting 7th today. You understand that, right? He got demoted from. He's been batting like 2nd routinely for the last 2 years. He's batting 7th today because he is complete dog doo-doo. Jerks and Profar leading off today. They just demoted him to the back end of the lineup. Finally, this was overdue. So it's a really good spot. Okay. Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I don't know if I love that. I got to be honest.
It's Jeffrey Rush. Is
that
Oscar winner Jeffrey Rush? Yeah,
Jeffrey Rush? Who he is. Okay. So we've got Daza on there for Colorado. That's our 4th leg. We need one more, and this thing's really and look, we're not forcing it here. The one I would add Skinner. I mean, this is essentially playoff scenario. Oh, okay, it's that guy. Okay, now I know who it is. I was having trouble remembering who that guy was.
Jeff Skinner. Oh yeah. Oh, Barbosa. You couldn't think of.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like exactly like what he looked like on there. All right, so we're going to go under 1.5. 623. So we need one more leg here, man. You ready?
That's you. You said you wanted Skinner.
Skinner. All right, Skinner.
Yeah, 2.5 shots. Buffalo going up against the Rangers.
There we
Fire
go.
it in.
There we go. All right, community parlays locked in. What do you say here? By the way, that's
Great.
the thing. So, Mike, you can scroll up and down for people, but we'll put a screenshot, I'm sure, out there. I'm going to bet this, so I'll put it for everybody here as well. I love this parlay. It's a 5-leg parlay.
It's hot.
All right,
Sexy.
what do you have?
Unders are so hot right now.
Yeah, they are, and we're getting closer, I think, to game time for everything. This is a sight of beauty here. God, I got.
Oh, do you want me to give you some like undertones? Oh yeah.
No, I want you to tell me right now what you're doing with the community parlay. Community parlay is locked in.
Brandon Drury over 1.5 total bases.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah. Everything's so dreary and everyone's so vague. That's Puddle of Mud for the kids.
Who sings that?
Puddle of Mud.
Okay.
Brandon Drury. Yep, there it is. Plus 120 is what we're getting over at BetMGM. Or do we have to specify which book are we going to go to? Bet Rivers is where you want it?
No, you can go wherever you want. I'm just saying.
Level pull Bet Rivers. Plus 110, not as good there. Plus 110 at DraftKings. Plus 113 at Caesars is where I specifically was looking at it. But plus 120 BetMGM, best bet currently.
All right, so that's it. Brandon Drury.
Brandon Drury over 1.5 total bases against our dude that we are just targeting with every righty on earth. If you're wearing an Angels uniform, they're in play against one Patrick Corbin. This guy he is unbelievably bad.
I got it. I love it. Okay. Well, the Marlins have won, so they're locked in on the run line. I'm going to go Nashville on the puck line because it's a parlay.
Ooh.
So you should be able to get that. Now, I don't know how much this changed, but we had this at plus 170 half unit play on the Discord. I'm just going to take them here for the benefit of the parlay on the puck line at plus 1.5. This is a playoff game in Calgary. Both teams need it. Calgary's not as good as Nashville, so I don't buy any home ice. Look, I think it might be marginal, but I don't buy this major difference in this game as both teams truly need it. So I'll take the puck and again, I think there's value. If you got it at 170, I think there was extreme value there. But I'll take them on the puck line to hang in that game, force either a 1-goal game or possibly even overtime here. All right.
I love you. Mr. Pucks. I don't know if we've done a show where you haven't taken something from the Pucks and then I just tail it and life is usually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not Andy and I don't claim to be, but hockey has been probably as good as the thing is I stopped betting these volatile shots on goal and just started betting sides. And it's amazing.
Smashing faces.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We got some time,
Let's
go. Got home runs to talk about here. I made we already talked about Renfroe. So Trout, Renfroe, especially if you got Trout at 310. I mean, my goodness, what is Trout now? We can go back to the market and see what's popping.
I bet him too, for what it's worth. I bet Ohtani, Trout, O'Hap, Renfroe, and then Drury. I took over bases. I didn't bet his home runs, but I did take the 1.5 total bases. Brandon Drury this morning at 5 a.m. driving across state lines. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful morning.
That sounds amazing coming from
was.
Arizona. Look, state lines for me is South Jersey to Philadelphia. It's not nearly as exhilarating of a view, I can promise.
Hey, the geolocation, it's pinging good stuff each way, especially, getting to bet 365 over an old NJ. That's a good spot.
It is. You're right. It is. But it's a hike for me, at least. Not for the Jersey folk. I see it's still at plus 310, by the way, for Trout. So you can have some fun with that. I am curious to see what pops in baseball for us tonight on the market. You mentioned Soler, by the way, under 1.5 total bases for Jorge Soler. Any interest in a revenge game for a former Philly who's now on the other side, who the Phillies seem to do everything possible this year to just neglect that he's gone and it's like a deal. Like everybody's talking about, oh, they don't have Bryce Harper and they don't have Reese Hoskins. Nobody wants to mention the fact that they don't have Gene Segura, who was at least serviceable more often than not, if not better than that. Any interest in a Gene Segura revenge game tonight?
No, I think he's pretty washed. 235 OPS, 188 average, no homers, no RBIs. The back half of this Miami lineup,
he's going up against
so targetable. Yeah, I said I like them going to Araz batting third here. I think it's kind of just been an issue for them getting guys on base. Luis Araz is already batting 471 here. I mean, shouldn't say already. It's a very, very small sample size, but he won the batting title with my Twins last year. I think him batting leadoff is a little bit of a disservice. They get Stallings, who's actually, I think, their best catcher, back into the mix here, former Pirate. That's the theme of the show. John Birdie there batting ninth, who can definitely steal some bags. We did see a strange thing. I saw an alert. Matt Strom can get extended to 75, 80 pitches. I don't know if that's necessarily what they want. It's really hard to look at some of these extended bullpen arms from last year and say that they're not going to run into some issues once they get extended. He pitched 61 pitches the other night, 7 fly balls in that Yankees spot, and still found ways to suppress it. It was 45 degrees at first pitch of that game. Just throwing it out there. Let's pump the brakes on him possibly being good. As much as I want to bet against Jorge Soler because it's projecting out well for us, I can't do it because I am very heavily on the Miami side of that one. But no Gene Segura interest, to answer your question.
No, and neither should you by any means. I would have stopped you if you were going off and off on it. I love narratives, but I also like them to make sense by all means. Steven Matz, and I don't know, did you see what's going on with PointsBet? By the way, major controversy with PointsBet voiding a ticket post. Did you not see this?
No.
Neither one of you guys saw this. Mike is actively searching so he can put a screen grab up. Harambe is probably the best person to explain this in the chat. So I'll let him or the GOAT. I think a couple people in our Discord either got burned or at least let us know what happened. But PointsBet is under some serious scrutiny for voiding a ticket after the fact. And Tyus Jones double-double was voided after winning. The ticket was granted a winner. And then they went back and they said, nah. Tyus Jones double-double didn't happen because it was voided. So the whole ticket was voided, not just that leg was voided in hindsight. Yeah.
Was it stat corrected by the NBA?
That I don't know who correct. I assume it had to have been, right? Because PointsBet couldn't be the only one to void that ticket if a double-double existed. So I assume, but the point being is that if you had a 4 or 5 leg parlay, the entire parlay was voided and it should have been treated as one leg was voided, but PointsBet used whatever stance they had to sit back and say, who are you going to call? Like, who are you going to call? I saw people on Twitter, these blue check marks, gaming commission. Go ahead. You get a lawyer and you try and sue PointsBet on some class action suit. And you know what's going to happen? You'll win $50 million with 150 million people. And nobody's going to get shit.
That was optimistic of you. That was nice.
You're not going to get anything out of it.
No, you're not. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And they have so many rules. Yeah, they specifically, I mean.
Oh, they overpriced it and voided it.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that there has to be a level of interest. Like, there's got to be a fair market valuation for certain things. And I understand that they have the rules for certain things. When they have a pricing error where it's just egregious. But I think as I'm looking at this, I'm reading this for the first time here right now. I don't think it was like something truly egregious when you look at Tyus Jones. It's just, there's so much high variance at the end of a season. I bet they priced him in for what it would have been had there been a Ja Morant or something of that nature, where it was getting extended further, and then probably got it priced incorrectly based on who was available, who wasn't. So yeah, it seems right. A little bit shady to me. That's for sure.
Let me clarify this. And this has happened. Ben will tell you allegedly on, an offshore book betting esports as a proxy for him. Again, this is all hearsay. I don't know if this actually happened or not, but like I've seen somebody post and be like, hey, red alert, Bovada or one of these offshore sites has an incorrect price. And you jump on that. In fact, it was like an early 2-ball with like Hideki Matsuyama, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. Maybe it was even last year. And it was total. Oh no, it was Austin Smotherman. It was like at no point should Austin Smotherman ever be plus 450 in any 2-ball, even if he's going up against John Rahm in his prime. Like it was off, right? So I bet it. And then Bovada voided the ticket, sent me an email that said, you can't bet like this anymore. Like we're on to you type shit. So I don't have a problem with the leg being voided in hindsight, even though they got gamed on the open market. I have a problem with them voiding parlay tickets, like entire parlay tickets. That is a major, but what am I going to do? What am I going to do? By the way, all of this was just to let you know that Steven Matz under 4.5 Ks is even money on PointsBet, and you're laying juice everywhere else. So if you want to go right back to PointsBet, this is actually a freaking fantastic bet to make right now.
Yeah, the Steven Matz thing, I think definitely makes some sense. When you're talking about Coors Field, you got to kind of look at what the primary pitch is for some of these guys. Now, Josiah Gray made me look like an idiot the other day. Felt pretty good about that one, primary curveball pitcher. This is a guy who has no true fastball. Talked about it last night. Tops out at 95, so he still has some velocity on that sinker, but sinker, changeup, curveball being his primary pitches there. You get enough righties that can do some damage at the top of that lineup, and now they've demoted Daza to the depths like they should have. CJ Cron going to be in the lineup for today. That was the big thing I was waiting on in terms of trying to target, trying to get maybe on some Colorado money there, so get away from some St. Louis or get on the over. So I think there's probably, I didn't get the opportunity to pull trigger on that, but under 4.5 Ks looks fantastic. I did pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, it's it dipped just now, so it's at minus 105 as I checked, and looking at it, it's still a good bet on both PointsBet and DraftKings. All right, man. I know you and I both, Ben, Isaiah's on a freaking tear when it comes to NASCAR.
Freak.
4-leg parlays, multiple parlays for me, and that doesn't even sniff what Eric Lindquist has been doing there. So we built the shake. You see the shake? How you were off yesterday, or maybe you weren't.
Oh no, I worked yesterday. I wish
okay.
I hadn't, because I lost like 4.5 units, I think. So that was fun.
Oh, you should have. You should have tailed it. We built a shake. You know, a shake ladder. We built a shake house.
Shake, rattle, and roll. You got to go to the right one there.
Take it down the line.
Oh, look at you getting out with a flare. That's good. It's good.
Tell you, man. Put up two. All right, we're out of here. That's all. We're out of here.
Just leaving. Bye.
We'll see. They know what.